unrelated to the political unrest that was witnessed in Jos on Tuesday when police deployed tear gas. Kabir Adamu is an Abuja-based security analyst. I asked him for his thoughts on what exactly was triggering this violence.
There are several factors, but I think the most urgent, important one is the political circumstances in the state. There was an election, first a presidential election in February and then a governorship election in March. Now, ahead of that election, there was a lot of negative mobilization along ethnic and religious lines. Now, in the aftermath of the elections, the outcome was contested. The second one is the presence of non-state armed groups, militias that are armed. These are ethnic militias. And then there are also what I would call marauding criminals who are contracted by these ethnic militias who come in to kill and do the kind of violence that unfortunately we've been covering over the last few months.
Why did the police not intervene?
So their ability in terms of what they are able to do, they did intervene. But the reality is that these non-state armed groups that I described are beyond what the normal average police can prevent. They are carrying military-grade weapons. They understand the vulnerabilities within the communities. And so it's not your normal conventional police that will be able to stop them, which is why a military operation was created in the Plateau in 2010 called Operation Safe Haven. That military operation was meant to stop this from happening. But like I mentioned earlier on, even that military operation has not been successful in preventing those types of attacks. And for the simple reason that these are ethnic militias that are supported by the different ethnic groups. And so where the public security agencies do not have the support of the people, which is unfortunately the situation in the Plateau at the moment, then they won't be able to stop the kind of killings that we're seeing at the moment.
Why do you think certain places of worship were targeted in some of these latest attacks?
So like I mentioned, the outcome of the February and March 2023 elections left the people divided along ethnic and religious lines. And what you now have is an inter-community violence that is triggered and foiled by ethnic and religious hatred, if you allow me to use that word. And so the targeting of religious places of worship is an exemplification of that hatred and anger that is foiling the killings, unfortunately.
So are you telling us that these repeated attacks stem from last year's election and, could possibly keep occurring even in the coming days?
So one of the things that I try not to do is to lump, all the conflict together as one. The Plateau has, multitude of conflict triggers. This particular one that we're discussing in Mangu, in my opinion, is rooted in political issues that are driving the conflict, but it's also foiled by the presence of this non-state armed group that I've mentioned. And so unless a political solution is found, unless the political leaders and the traditional leaders and the religious leaders come together in some peace-building mechanism or form, it will be very difficult to stop. Now, it's very interesting to note that the current governor is actually from the location, Mangu local government, where the conflict is ongoing.